Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome back to the PMDG Boeing 777-200ER, today with Pratt & Whitney engines in the United livery. So today we're going to fly from FS Dream Team's Houston Intercontinental Airport over to Munich for a nice 9-hour and 40-minute flight. So, are you guys ready? Then follow me inside to start our pre-flight preparations. And we're going to start with a couple of basics over here. First of all, the safety checks, so fuel control switch is cut off, thrust lever idle, landing gear down, wipers are off, and, well, we are running on the APU, which is fine with me. Then the ADRU can come on, voice recorder coming on, and then let's go ahead and have a look into our electronic flight bag. So we're starting down here with the data request, and you guys are used to the standard already. So let's go right into the flight plan here, scroll down a little bit to find our charts. So this is what our route of flight looks like. We are departing Houston across the Great Lakes and then across Newfoundland onto Nut Track Victor, crossing the North Atlantic, and then with a straight course towards Munich. Looking into the significant weather charts, we do have quite a bit of jet streams today that we're following, and also some occasional CBs over here across the USA. So, well, it might be a little bit of an interesting flight here, but most certainly it is going to shorten our flight time rather significantly. So the North Atlantic is pretty clear, and then on the other side, coming into Europe, we have clear skies ahead of us as well. By the way, what kind of interesting jet stream is that down here? That's got to be a seriously strong weather system down here, that it's strong enough to bend a 100-knot jet stream all the way around it within such a short distance. Quite incredible to see these kind of things. But not really relevant for our flight today, so let's head right back up in the plan and have a look at the weather. So our departure in Houston has fairly good weather. Wind comes from 150 degrees, so that's pretty much a guaranteed runway 15 departure, and a couple of gusts forecast on that runway as well. Our destination Munich has clear skies and runway 08 in use, and our alternate Hahn, actually Frankfurt Main, has very good weather conditions as well with runway 07. So with that in mind, our departure, if it is on time, is going to result in a 20-minute early arrival using Cosnx 30. We have plenty of margin to all the maximum weights here, and if we now go down into the fuel section, we can basically tell already that we will not need much extra over here. So if we increase our zero fuel weight by 1,000 pounds, then we'll need 400 pounds extra fuel, and if we do fly a little bit faster, well, that's too expensive, so we're not going to do that. In other words, if we take 150,000 pounds, we'll be more than good to go. So let's go ahead and load that up over here. Again, you should be in pounds right over here. And let's go into the precise loading, and we are going to go with pounds over there. And that's 150,000. Alright, cool. So exactly 50% of fuel on board. See what Boeing did there? 150,000, 50%. In other words, full is 300,000. That's for you, Europeans, using your strange metric system. You will never be able to understand what Boeing does. Alright, and with that our aircraft's loaded. So then let's get right into our flight preparation. Now, you might have seen that I have selected that default Asobo registration here, because that enables me to load my custom aircraft config here. So I can just load, the 204 Uniform Alpha, which is exactly our aircraft. And that way I can ensure that I always have the correct registration in, since FS 2024 is a little bit strange there with its registration systems. But anyway, now let's get into our flight. So we'll start with a recall, going over anything we may have over here. And one thing you can see already is that we have that blue status message telling us that there is something waiting for us in the status page. And luckily it's just the TCAS, so that's normal at this stage in the flight. Apart from that, oil quantity is good, hydraulic oil or APU oil is good as well. Oxygen is good as well. Then for the engine oil quantity, that could need some refilling, and I think we're better gonna do that now than later. So can either do it in the FMS, you can see I was kinda quick to go there, But you can also do it down here in the ground maintenance, so refill engine oil, please. And here we go. That's much better. See, that's why you do these checks. You gotta keep an eye on this, otherwise you will eventually end up with your engines failing when metal hits metal. Now, I do like metal, but the music, not the type of metal that hits itself in the engines, and not the type of sound that it makes either. Even though I'm sure there will be some people saying that the music sounds just like metal hitting metal in the engine. Okay, enough of that. So, overall, we can conclude we've got a fine aircraft, so let's go into our FMS. As always, we check the aircraft type, we check the engine type, and the nav database, then we insert our GPS position, select the route, and now let's wait for the uplinks to go through. In the meantime, we can go ahead and grab ourselves some taxi charts. And, well, that's exactly the one we need, the West 1 route. Let's see, do we have... No, not really. Okay. Well, that's fine with me, so West 1 it is. Apart from that, airport chart and parking gates, just to be sure that those are the correct ones. We are standing down here. Okay, so, load that route, please. Then we have the Indy 8 departure. Let's find it in our charts. Here it is, Indy 8. Okay, cool. So, top altitude 16,000, I like it. Alright, so departing Houston, 15 left on the Indy 8 departure. Do we need any transition on that one? Yeah, TPAC. Alright, cool, so that transition is selected as well now. Then, let's go ahead and select the arrival. That's going to be Munich, ILS approach, runway 8 left. We're coming in from Rokill, so let's take the Rokill 08 transition. Route, activate, execute. I'm going to clear all those scratch pad messages here. Okay, so on to the next page where we're going to cross-check all the data. So we continue by TPAC to lit, Kilo Mike 71 India, Kilo Mike 42 Kilo, Kilo India 57 Mike, then Kilo Golf 690, Kilo Charlie 78 Quebec, direct Carrot, direct Rospo, direct Sifu, direct Alry. From there we follow the nut towards Gitsy. Then we continue direct Enjects, direct Adaf, direct Axnev, direct Zipwi, direct Ozil, direct Sopwi, Quebec 63 Comp, Nat Lima 9 Biggin, Lima 607 Conan, direct Coxie, direct Matuk, direct Movum, Tango 109 Harem, and Tango 104 Rokill, and that's the routing. So that's looking good, and that's the ground distance of 4852 versus 4822. That distance is because of the arrival transition, so that's fine. Then with the route check, let's copy it, and let's get down to the legs page. So we're departing on the runway heading until 600 feet, and that's what we have down here. Thereafter it's going to be rank, colet, sushi. I like sushi. And then via well to Indy to TPAC. And that's exactly what we've got down here. Let's see, radars required, TPAC transition for non-GPS equipped aircraft, Tango November Victor DME must be operational, not our problem. Alright, so all of that stuff is looking good. Then let's go ahead and load up the wind data. Execute the forecast winds as well. Here we go. So, Houston, fix info, /25. Then the RADMAF page is checked, the transition altitude is checked. Let's accept our performance uplink, but let's cross-check it nonetheless. So, for the fuel, we're looking at 5.6 plus 10, so 15.6. That's correct. Flat level 350 is a little bit low though. We are planned in flat level 370. Cost NX 30 is correct, and fuel temperature minus 37 is correct. Cruise CG 30 is Also correct. So Northern procedure number 2 in here, and that's going to be 1000 and 1000. Well, and that's our FMS setup completed. It's quite easy, isn't it? The one thing that I still want to check though is the North Atlantic track. So we are planned via track Victor. Let's find the track message. There we are, Victor. So that's Ori, 51 north, 50 west, 53 north, 40 west, 53 north, 30 west, 53 north, 20 west, Mallet, Gitsy. And that's pretty much everything we have. Wonderful. So in terms of step climbs, we do have only a few. The track goes up to level 400, and if we check this, 400 is exactly what they've planned. So 0.83/400 step at Alri, and then at Gitsy, Econ, and 410 step. Here we go. And that's our step climbs for today. Beautiful. So, last thing for us to check is the actual coordinates to ensure that the database is correct. So 5150 is indeed 5150. Then we have 5340, which is correct as well. Basically over here we are checking that the waypoints that are coded into the database are correct. So 5350, is that really 53 north and 30 west? That's the stuff we are checking for. Alright, and that's looking excellent. Perfect, so with that we are basically done checking and inserting our flight plan. Well, then let's put the tablet to the side again and continue with our flight deck inspection. But as you can see, not all that much to set up for the time being. So reset all, then onto the com page, flight information, ATIS request, Houston, data from VATSIM, and send. And not all that much that we actually got to do over here that you wouldn't be familiar with already. So I'm just going over this quickly here. You've seen that in the past couple of videos already. That was a tad fast. Here we go, 1 to 1.5. Alright, so that's our pre-flight setup completed down here. We do have a third pilot on board on a long flight like this one, so let's ensure that he hears something as well down here. And that's all the setup completed. So IRS alignment is also finished already. The only thing we're waiting for now is the weather. And then I suppose we can start our departure briefing. Cool, thanks. So we're departing Houston, 15 left via the Indy 8 departure. Initial plan is 16,000 and MSA-wise 4,000 is going to keep us safe all around. Now I have an extra fuel of 1,000 pounds, which is worth 5 minutes. Alright, thank you very much for that. Now we are departing via Houston's runway 15 left. I have no hotspots for our taxi out, and we have nothing special. Now, in terms of rejected takeoff, we do have a stop margin of a couple hundred meters. Engine out sits straight at 25 miles, climbing 4,000. That is going to keep us safe. And last but not least, we do not have any non-standards over here, nothing special either. And last but not least, if we need to make an immediate return, Houston is available, long runways, weather is okay, and that's mostly it. Any questions? No? Beautiful. So that's our briefing complete. Weather is here by now, altimeter 2994. And then we can do the pre-flight checklist. Oxygen, tested 100%. Flight instruments, heading 323, altimeter 2994, set left, set right. Pre-flight checklist complete. Alright, cool. So everything's done. By now boarding should be completed as well, so let's say hello to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from Flight. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of United, welcome aboard Flight 102 towards Munich. Today's flight time is in the region of approximately 9 hours and 40 minutes. I expect a smooth flight at an altitude of initially 37,000 feet, later on up to 41,000 feet. Would like to thank you very much for being our guests today. Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight with us. If there's anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Thank you very much for your attention. Sit back, relax, enjoy the night aboard, and we'll get back to you with the latest weather when we start our approach into Munich. Cabin crew, all doors in flight. Alright, so there's no ground power connected. Then we can remove the shocks, please. And then we can start with our performance. So, our zero fuel weight is 370.6. And that's a gross weight of 520.5, which looks quite good to me. Right, so performance, Houston, runway 15 left, import. So 3657 looks good. Calculate, takeoff 1, 49 degrees. Like this. Alright, so flap 5 takeoff with a CG of 28. And we have takeoff speed 150, 153 and 155. That's all within 1 knot, so we can take the FMS speeds. Well, and that's everything we need down here. So let's zoom all the way in to get our taxi chart. Here we go. Ground flight deck. Go. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Alright, thanks. Then we'll prepare the aircraft. Are we clear to pressurize the hydraulics? Yes, sir. Clear to pressurize. So, wait for the fault light to go out before you pressurize the other systems. Now, fuel in center does show, so the center pumps are coming on. Then the trim is 6 units, and while we're trimming, let's also turn the transponder on. And then we can start the before start checklist, please. The door is already closed. Wonderful. So, flight deck door. Closed and locked. MCP. V2 155, heading 149, altitude 16,000. Takeoff speeds V1 151, VR 153, V2 155. CDU pre-flight complete. Trim 6 units, 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Holding at beacon. So, plan the pushback, please. Let's see if we can get anything decent from our tool today. This is kind of where I want the pushback to go. Stay clear at the intersection. Like this, and then like this. Okay, so, ground flight. We're clear to push, and the parking brake is set. Thanks, release brakes. Brakes are released, start on the push, and we are standing by for your signal to start the engines. So, beacon on before start checklist complete. And with that, off we go. Alright, so I have no idea. Oh yeah, it starts wiggling around already. That's not good. Okay, I tell you what. Do we want to watch this for a bit, see what's going to happen, or are we just immediately going to stop the push? This is so bad for a payware. You take a freeware tool, turn it payware, make some quick cash, and then you abandon it. It's incredible. It's just incredible. Right, thanks. I've seen what we needed to see. Cancel, stop. Yeah, horrible. And they're asking money for that. Alright, brake set, starting engines. Pratt & Whitney engines here, so we can start both at the same time. And yeah, I guess I was right when I called it a money grab, and they delayed the release a couple months for that. So, engine start is in progress, N2 is increasing, oil pressure is increasing, waiting for the fuel flow, and for some N1. Here we go, N1 is increasing, we have fuel flow, and then we should get ignition here. Very good. Okay. So, Grand Flight, we have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the right hand side, please, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. So what do we have here? Hydraulic pressure demand C2. Okay, so hydraulic press demand C2 non-normal checklist. Condition: the demand pump output pressure is low when commanded on. C2 air demand pump selector on. So, hydraulic air C2 demand pump selector on. So, hydraulic pressure demand message stays shown. Nope, doesn't look like it. Let's do a recall. Nope. Nope. Okay. And that's the hydraulic press demand C2 non-normal checklist complete. So, before taxi checklist, please. Anti-ice. Auto, recall, checked, flight controls, checked, ground equipment, clear, before taxi checklist complete. Clear right side, clear left side. Brakes are off, let's go. So, let's get it back onto the taxiway first of all. And then we'll find our way to the runway. It's basically going to be straight ahead for quite a while. So, more or less a long straight line here. So, we cleared the apron. You can clearly see that apron marking line on the right hand side. That means the apron speed limit of 15 knots does not apply here. But there are a couple turns coming up, which are, well, not too wide, not too shallow. So, I'm rather happy to take those at a rather high speed. So, seeing this taxiway bridge over here, and seeing that we have one in Munich as well, we can quickly talk about the fact that you are not allowed to stop at 777 on a bridge. Why is that? That's because, according to legal certification, the bridge may not be wide enough to support taking passengers off an evacuation slide. So if you stopped that aircraft right on the bridge and then had to evacuate for whatever reason, those passengers might be falling off the end of the bridges. So, yeah, that's something to keep in mind when you are flying a 777. Okay, captain ready. Terrain is not a factor, we'll both go on weather radar today. Before takeoff checklist? Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so straight out for a little bit, and then it's going to be the first to the right onto Whiskey 8, or Whiskey Bravo it is. Clear left side, clear right side. Alright, so all the way to the runway, which is the third to the left. Alright, cool. So, let's review our takeoff briefing. It's going to be a left seat takeoff of runway 15 left, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure 2, takeoff speed 151, 153, 155. Our sit is going to take us onto a radar vector back towards the north. Well, weather is quite okay, even though we can see a couple of towering clouds up there, so might be a little bit turbulent. We'll have to consider keeping the cabin seated for a bit longer. Immediate return is possible to all runways, and we have no specials. Engine outset straight at 25 miles, climbing to 4,000 feet. Do you have any questions? Nope? Beautiful. So that's our briefing complete. Alright, are you ready to go? Then, transponder on. I can actually not see any traffic there, which is good. So, runway 15, cleared for takeoff. Ooh, very high resolution. Ground texture
Approaching
there.
15 left.
Checked. So, are you ready?
On runway 15 left.
Checked. Takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Interesting way the textures are behaving there. Thrust set.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1, rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Select heading select. So heading select, VNAV. And acceleration. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Flaps up. Speed checked. Flaps up. Okay, flaps up, no lights. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so is it a left or a right turn? That's the question. A clear left turn. So let's go left, heading 030. I just totally like the way the 777 flies manually. Such a stable, beautiful platform. The fly-by-wire is just amazing in this airplane. And PMDG have done a really good job on that as well. Autopilot. I want to show you another small feature that I really like. That's the input lag from doing an input on the MCP to the information actually arriving on the system. So instead of rolling out on 030, let's just quickly turn the heading bug to the left. And now watch what happens on the nav display. Can you see how it actually takes quite a bit of time until the heading bug has followed? I really do like that. Just one of those small features here. Some of the input lag that you have between the data transfer from the MCP over to your symbol generator on the main panels. So let's fly direct to rank. Execute, LNAV available, LNAV. So small things like these just really show where PMDG aircraft set themselves apart from most other add-on aircraft out there in the market. In fact, I'm only aware of one single other add-on that has, you know, small things like these. Others are trying to catch up, and I've seen many good ideas in other add-ons as well. But yeah. None of them has them en masse like PMDG has. That's just the one thing I like here. Another example is how the map builds up when you change the display mode. If I'm pressing this, you can see how first you get the basic compass rose, then it fills with content, and then last you get the symbols in the edges there. Again, look closely. And that's another first that PMDG introduced back in the day with the 777. I really do like small details like these. It just brings those aircraft to life in a way that not many add-ons actually can. So we're approaching 10,000. We'll keep the lights on since we're in the States. And, well, with these kind of clouds, we'll also keep the seatbelt signs on for the time being. And apart from that, there isn't all that much to do for us. So I'd say we're going to speed this one up a little bit now. And then I see you all on the approach to Munich. then, and here we are on the approach to Munich. It's a beautiful morning, few clouds in the sky, and the temperature is already up to a good level as well. Just some light wind, some traffic off on our right hand side that we've got to take care of, so let's go into vertical speed mode here and make a right hand turn like heading of 160. There's the other traffic, the Lufthansa that I've been looking out for. Down there he is. Probably also inbound for runway 08 left, just like we are. So let's go ahead and clean up our flight plan, and then we can already slow us down to 250 knots and start the approach briefing to get you guys into the loop of what we're about to do. So for now, direct to Margat to give us the extended center line here, and then as soon as we're clear of that Lufthansa below us, we will expedite our descent a little bit here in order to get down to our approach. So level change, and then let's descend to flight level 70 for the time being. So the Lufthansa is somewhere on the left now, even though I can't really see him, probably right within the clouds. That's fine. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and start the approach briefing, please. So it's going to be radar vectors for an ILS approach onto runway 08 left. The minimum is 1667 and the go around straight at 1 mile and then left turn to Mike NDV, and we can tune that one. That's Mike India Quebec. Doesn't take that, okay, 426. And DME Munich North, we can tune those two on the radios here. ADF left, viewer right will be the setting for the approach then. Extra fuel and time. Let's see, our minimum is 15.6, we arrive at like 22, so we do have fuel for about 20 minutes extra. Okay, so as mentioned, radar vectors onto the approach. Looks like all the traffic has turned to the sides. I'm absolutely happy with that. That means we can do a left-hand turn onto heading of 120. So radar vectors for the approach, and we have no specials. Flaps 25 landing with idle reverse to vacate the runway on the second exit to the right-hand side. Auto brakes 3 is going to enable us to do that. So as briefed, no specials, nothing non-standard. And that's really all I've got for this one. So if you have no questions, then let's descend down to 5,000 feet and set QNH. So QNH 1023 is cross check, passing 9,000 now. Approach checklist please. Altimeters, QNH 1023, approach checklist complete. So the localizer is alive already. Lock armed. Then let's go ahead, have a little bit of fun. Autopilot off. So glide slope alive. It's interesting, the VNAV profile shows us exactly on profile, but we're actually above the glide slope. I don't quite believe VNAV here, so let's use some speed brake, get the airplane down. Go charmed. At least get it like halfway below the dot, so that we have some margin to reduce our speed in a few moments. Localizer capture. Runway heading 080 set. So speed brakes are going back in. We're 5 miles from Margat, so let's start reducing our speed. So, exactly on the center line, that's how I like it. That's again one of those things that you'll really notice about PMDG aircraft. If you follow that flight director onto the final, you will end up on that center line. Contrary to some other add-ons where you may or may not end up on the center line. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. And glide slope capture. Go around altitude 5000 set. Flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5. So let's use a little bit of speed brake here to lose that speed. Speed brake is really effective on the 777. Look at how easily we can reduce our speed here. No way you could do something like that in an Airbus. Ooh, little turbulence here. So, speed brake is stowed again. 9 miles out, 190 knots. Perfect.
$2,500.
Checked. So we'll configure at 6 nautical miles. That should be more than sufficient. The 777 just slows down so incredibly easy. It's a nice look from the cabin as well, isn't it? Especially something like this. Alright then, back up to the front and then gear down, flaps 20. Flaps 25. Speed check, flaps 25. So the stable approach gate is at 2,500. As you can see, very easy. So landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. So the lights are on, landing checklist is complete, beautiful.
1,000.
Checked.
Approaching 08 left.
That's fully intentional. So perhaps we should play a little bit less with our views and just land this airplane now. So, glide slope is checked, correcting. Very small correction, that's the important thing here, that close to the runway.
Minimums.
Continue.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Spoilers, reverse green. Okay, auto brake off. And we'll roll to the next exit, and that's going to be ours. And here we are. Welcome to Munich. So, vacating the runway, we can leave the APU off for the time being, just to conserve a little bit of fuel. So, flaps up, speed brake up, TCAS out off. And here we are. Welcome. So, runway vacated and all the after landing procedures are complete already. So the only question is, are we going to do single engine taxi, yes or no? And the answer for that is very likely going to be yes. My only problem is I don't actually have an AFCOM for the Pratt & Whitney engine. So if you guys know which cooling time they are using, then do let me know in the comments below. But for the time being, I think if we just use 3 minutes, that should be more or less a good average of what most aircraft use. The shortest I've seen is 1 minute, the longest I've seen is 5, but many are using 3, so we'll just take that. Always remember the time in idle reverse counts to it as well, so basically at 2.5 now, plus the time we use our reversers, we can shut down 2. Oop, what are we doing here? I don't remember making that control input. So, first to the left. So we will be parking over there. Start APU. So let's take a small shortcut across the apron here. There is no traffic. And here we go, stand 204. Hey, lights off. So, a couple more centimeters ahead. Even though we are behind the line already, so suppose we can just stop here. So, APU running. And shutdown. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Alrighty, so the engines are running down. Then seatbelts off. Hydraulic pumps off. Fuel pumps off. Transponder off. Flight directors off. And the engine is below 20%. Beacon off. Parking checklist. Park and brake. Set. Parking checklist complete. Well, call it shutdown checklist. Fine enough. So, oil quantities are looking good. Then hydraulic quantities are looking good. No status messages. ICAS messages are looking good as well. Beautiful. So, set chocks, request jetway, request ground power, service vehicles for all the cargo holds, and then disarm all the slides. Let's see, the jetway is actually connecting, that's good. External power units are connected, 22 degrees outside, lovely. Summer is approaching quickly, my friends. So, the jetway should be connected. Let's open up the door. And then, all I can say is, welcome to Munich! Hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. I'm very much looking forward to it. In the meantime, as always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.